Hi guys, welcome to my channel. Today I am going to talk a little bit about basically what it has been like looking for a job after graduate school. So for me, it's a little bit different than like somebody who is just studying IO and that's it, because I'm not aggressively looking, I'm more passively looking at things. And I say that because since I finished my master's in counseling, I have to finish my post-master's hours in order to become fully licensed. And what being fully licensed will do for me is open up more doors. It also will give me more autonomy because I can't practice without supervision. So I have like an hour of supervision every week, which basically means I meet with my supervisor. We talk about cases. She gives me feedback, advice, things like that. And once I get my full license, which means I take my board exams, I finish my 3,000 hours, then I have more autonomy and I can practice independently, and I don't have to worry about all that stuff, how many hours I'm getting, this and that. So that's why I say I'm looking passively, because I feel like when I first started my programs, my IO program and my counseling program at the same time, my idea was either working for myself or finding a job in which I can do both. Or my third option was going to be working two jobs, doing two different things. And that was fine with me because I'd worked multiple jobs for years and it didn't bother me. But now that I'm a mom, that has added another layer of like reality of like, it's very exhausting. I think being a mom is like having two full-time jobs. And I think there was like a study done on that too or something, I don't know. But so on top of that and working, and then also thinking about doing like a passive income with IO, or not a passive income with IO, but like a part-time job with IO while I'm getting my hours done, which is what I was planning to do. It's just like, I can't even, because I'm just like, then that'll be just too much for me, I think. So what I need to do is focus on counseling, which is what I'm doing, just so that I can finish my hours, and then after that do what I've been wanting to do, which involves more like children's mental health and IO. And what that'll look like is, which I've talked about in another video, is consulting for like small or large daycares or nonprofits or preschools or elementary schools, things like that. And the reason I say that is because what got me into the counseling field is in 2017, I was a preschool teacher, and I had worked for this organization that I thought that I could grow into. I can get into a leadership position there because I had a master's degree in IO psychology at that point. And so I was thinking I could get into a leadership position there over time, but I can start out as a preschool teacher and build my way up. And I had been a daycare teacher in the past, so it wasn't like, new to me teaching children. And so the organization is actually a very large organization, has very many sites across the country. And they have really cool jobs actually in leadership. So I was looking to grow within the organization. However, what I found working as a teacher there was that it was very kind of disorganized as far as like training, onboarding, employee retention was terrible, turnover was extremely high. And it was all because really the teachers didn't know how to manage the behaviors in the room. And I think even the word managing the behaviors is the wrong mindset. The behaviors for me when I was, back then in 2017, I didn't know what I was seeing. I was not a counselor yet. I had a psychology bachelor's degree, which is nothing. And I had a master's in IO psychology, which has nothing to do with mental health. So I was like, I don't know what's going on with these kids. Like, I had never seen these behaviors before. And I was just out of sorts. I didn't know what to do. I think I was very stressed out during that time. I lost hair. I lost a lot of weight. I barely ate anything. I was just very stressed out. It was distressing to go to work. It was very distressing to be at work because I know I was going to get hit, spit on, kicked. I wasn't going to be able to teach anybody anything effectively because I was just going to be running around all day long trying to manage all of the behavioral issues in the classroom. And I had a co-teacher who was also very stressed out. We just didn't know what to do. And the organization has a training program, but I hadn't been trained, and I'd been there for 6 months. And I'm just like, what the hell is this? Like, as from an IO perspective, I was like, this is BS. Obviously, I should have been trained immediately before I even started seeing children. I should know what's going on and how to manage these things. But even the teachers that had gone through the training, some of them were not, you know, like my co-teacher, she'd gone through the training and she was out of sorts as well. And the other part of the organization that I noticed is that certain parts of the training were scattered throughout the year. So if you're in a classroom and you're seeing hard to manage behaviors right now, then a training 5 months from now is going to be ineffective if you're not around for 5 months because you're burned out now. So it was just nonsense, all of it. And so from an IO perspective, I knew what I would do, but I also knew that an IOer coming in and consulting in an organization like this would only know part of the issue. They wouldn't know the mental health aspect. And so that's where a mental health consultant would come in and be very beneficial. And they didn't actually end up hiring anybody in the mental health field until I left. And they hired one person for this entire center. You have to have seen it. It was huge. And there were hundreds of kids there probably. So one person for all of these behaviors was just not going to work. And I knew that. Yeah, that just opened my eyes because I was like, I don't know. Like, I knew that I just didn't know what I was doing, to be honest. And I was like, if organizations like this are out there and they're meant to help children who live on or below the poverty level to actually have a fighting chance when they get to elementary school, then we need to do better than this. This is not enough. And so I was like, I need to get into the mental health field. I need to know what's going on with these kids, and I need to know what I would do in a classroom with these behaviors. That's what got me into the mental health field, and that was the whole purpose. And looking back, now that I am a counselor, looking back at the behaviors that I saw and the things that I did in my classroom, I know that there are things that I did to contribute to the behaviors that just made it worse, but I didn't know at the time. And no matter how many times we asked for help, we really didn't get very valuable feedback or training or any guidance, really. Just a lot of threats like, you'll be terminated if another kid runs out of your classroom, and then we can't lock the door, but if they run out of the classroom and we're occupied with the other kids, then we're getting written up, and things like that. Just ineffective. Everybody, if you study IO, you know that those are ineffective things. People will just get even more frustrated and leave, and that's exactly what happened. The counseling program, and here I am on the other end of it. I'm done with counseling program. Now I'm doing my 3,000 hours. So that's all just to say, the reason that I'm not aggressively looking for jobs is because I'm really focused on finishing my counseling hours. And I think focusing on the counseling aspect is going to help me along the process of being a consultant in schools and daycares and preschools and elementary schools for children with these behaviors, because I'll be able to add more insight as far as it's not just the child's problem, but it's the classroom, it's the teacher, it's the environment, it's the school. You know, what can the school do from a macro level? What can the teacher do from a micro level in her classroom or his classroom? And, you know, now the mental health aspect. What can a mental health counselor do for this student? That's really where my passion is. Basically. So that's all just to say that the job search for IO for me is, I don't even know how to define it. It's not going well and it's not going terrible because I've found some. It's just that they're not what I'm looking for. And also I'm not really committed to doing that right now because I know that it's just going to kind of set me back as far as what my goal is. So for me, a huge issue is staying focused on my goal. I can accomplish a lot of things, and I already have, if you've been watching my channel. And I accomplish a lot of things because I have a lot of ideas. But when it comes down to something like this, where I am skilled in two things and I have an end goal that will combine both of those things, then I really need to focus on one aspect before I can jump into the next aspect, if that makes sense. Part of me feels like if I don't get some kind of IO experience during this time while I'm finishing my hours, I'm going to do myself a disservice in the long run, and it's going to take me longer to get to where I want to be. But on the other hand, I'm also thinking about what kind of mother do I want to be, what kind of wife do I want to be, and how am I going to feel if I take on more, you know? Because if you know, working full-time and going to grad school, and doing 2 grad programs at once was one thing when I didn't have any kids. Now that I have a kid and I'm growing my family, it's a lot different, because I don't want to what I found, and I have a supervisor who kind of reminds me of this, but what I found is if you're a person who tries to do too much or try to be a jack of all trades, then you really don't end up being very efficient or effective at anything. I think that I'm doing well right now as far as post-grad school career, because I have a job that is very unique in that it's a nonprofit. So I get paid a salary. I don't have to worry about insurance reimbursement, which a lot of counselors do. And I can really focus on the work and the children rather than focusing on the billing and all of that stuff, which is really nice. I also have quite a bit of flexibility with my schedule. Not too much flexibility, but still some flexibility as far as how many hours I work a week and how many clients I take on at a time. So that's good. So I really am very blessed with the job that I have. It does get frustrating a lot, but it's just good for where I am right now. And I'm also in an organization that's really focused on helping me grow as a clinician and learn and really hone my skills. And I think all of that work now on the front end will help me on the back end when I'm ready to get into consulting. Or I was also speaking with somebody who's in DEI, and they may be interested in me doing some project work for them, which I'm open to, as long as it's not too much. Like I said, being a mom is like 2 full-time jobs, and then I already have a job, and it's like, so looking for things passively to help me like practice my IO skills, because if you don't use it, you lose it during this time while I'm doing my counseling hours, is really beneficial for me. And I think that's the route that I've been going. So it's been hard for me since December, because I was trying to figure out what to do. You know, I thought I had it all figured out, and then I went into the world of, well, I was already in the world, but I went into really more aggressively looking at IO jobs, and I just realized none of them were what I wanted. And so then it became like kind of frustrating and kind of like, what's the word? Depressing a little bit. Like, none of these jobs are things that I'm interested in. Like, I could do them, but I'm not passionate about it, and I know that I would be bored. So I was just trying to find like something. But then I like took a step back, and I was like, no, what brought you here in the first place? Like, what made you want to get into both of these fields? When I got back into thinking about where it all started, it became so much clearer and easier for me to think about where to go next, or what to do and what to focus on now. When I thought back to what brought me into both of these fields, which was that chaotic environment that I was working in a few years ago, I was like, okay, now things make more sense. And strategically working backwards, if that's my end goal, what are the steps that I need to do to get there? And it became very clear that the first thing to do is to focus on this aspect, this counseling aspect over here, get these hours done, learn as much as I can, and really hone my skills and become a very skilled and knowledgeable clinician about trauma and childhood trauma specifically. And then go from there. When I get confused or distracted or discouraged, I just kind of think about what brought me here, and then it brings me back to what I need to focus on now. So anyways, I hope that's helpful for you if you're somebody who's a clinician wanting to get into IO, or an IOer wanting to be a clinician, or you're just confused about what you want to do in general. I hope some of what I said helped you in some kind of way. All right, well, thanks for watching, and don't forget to like and subscribe. Bye.